I never played vanilla Mount and Blade. From what I heard, it was okay. With Warband, however, the game is, in my view at least, a great title. Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way first. It looks terrible. At first glance you might think, well, it's an older game, it's going to have these sorts of problems. Nope. Mount and Blade came out in 2008, Warband in 2010. It looked downright shabby when it came out, and it doesn't look great now. But that doesn't matter. While Mount and Blade's graphics may be poor, they are perfectly functional, and that means they don't intrude on the title's main selling points, the gameplay mechanics, combat, and emergent narrative. Warband is proof that high-quality visuals are not required in order to make a game that's entertaining and immersive. Let's start with the basics. What is Mount and Blade about? Well, you. It's about you. Or more specifically, the character you generate. Okay, but what's the actual plot? What's the gameplay style? The answer to that question is, what do you want it to be? You generate a character who is dropped into the world, and then that's it. The world turns, other powers and characters will do their own thing, and you make your way as best you can. Of course, given time, money, a sharp tongue, and a sharper sword, you can become something a bit more. You can even become the ruler of one of the nations. But whatever you do, you'll work for it, and every step of the way. One way to think of Warband is as a single-player MMO, where every character from the farmers to the emperor of the universe, player character included, are treated the same by the game's rules. They can all be attacked and killed, they must travel, they can be replaced by different characters. This means you can quite literally go from being an off-the-boat newbie to almost any position that you want in the game. But as a consequence, Mount and Blade has virtually no actual plot, or even any real preconceived notions about the player character at all. As far as the game world is concerned, you're just another cog in the machine. You turn other cogs, but are also turned by other cogs. You may turn out to be the most important part of the machine given enough time, but realistically you're still just another part. It's through the powerlessness created by the game refusing to treat the player like a special snowflake with an ultimate destiny that plot actually happens. You see, a victory that is scripted and part of the game is just the realization of something that was always going to happen given enough time and effort. That's not as satisfying as actually creating your own unique victory from an unscripted, dynamic environment. When you're able to build up a web of contacts and favours, it feels personal. When you're granted a landed title, it means something because it's something that you achieved by yourself with no help from the game. That's satisfying, and that's a story you want to share. Crusader Kings 2 has sold gangbusters by refining this idea to perfection. And while Warband may not manage it to the same level, it remains an engaging and far more personal experience than most games. Broadly, Warband can be split up into 3 different states. The world map, in which you travel, encounter various people and parties, and in general find stuff to do. The third-person mode, which is used to explore towns and engage in battle. And the location menus, used as a means to quickly access relevant shops, quests, and other points of interest in towns. You can also visit those locations by exploring manually if you wish. Finally, there's the usual inventory/journal/leveling menu set common to most RPGs these days. Combat is another area where Warband differentiates itself from other games. There's a strong element of positioning involved, especially on horseback. Drawing your weapons for longer also makes them hurt more, as you might expect. However, speed is also a factor. Getting hit by a sword is bad enough. Getting hit by it while its wielder is on horseback and moving at about 30 miles an hour is even worse. Warband does actually model this effect. In addition, weapons handle differently depending on how you are moving when you hit the attack button and start drawing for the attack. Timing when to release your swing and what position to be in really matters, as does not telegraphing your attacks too much. Guarding is a matter of pressing the guard key when an enemy is preparing to strike. If you do, you will raise your shield, or if you do not have one, you will automatically move your weapon into the best position to guard against the attack that the enemy is currently charging. Of course, if you're facing multiple enemies, then this becomes a problem. Most of your deaths in Warband will actually occur when you're surrounded and mobbed. You can also cancel your attacks and switch to a new angle in an attempt to feint, which has a variable success rate. Combat has strategic elements as well, with you able to feed orders to different groups and types of troops to improve combat efficiency. Personally, I never bothered with this, preferring instead to go with a massed charge. However, my friend Hugh has created a very interesting voice command system which allows him to bark orders at the game. Click the annotation now to check it out. All in all, combat is varied, feels skillful, and thanks to the fact that you have a lot of input into how your weapon behaves, very satisfying. Each attack matters, each hit is placed, you're not just mashing a button to do damage. Warband has an XP and levelling system that can be used to further train your character and specialise them depending on how you want to play. Other heroes are also available to help you fight in combat, as well as providing global bonuses to your army. Heroes level up just like your main character does, meaning if you want a warband with, for example, a high tracking skill, you can have one of your heroes learn that skill rather than your main character, opening up lots and lots of min-max potential. Your warband itself is also a lot of fun. Soldiers can be obtained in many ways, but the best tactic in my opinion is to recruit them as peasants from villages. This is mainly because it's cheap, but you also get to watch as the peasants slowly level up and start forming into better fighters. At various points in the progress tree there are specializations and sub-specializations, usually around ranged or melee, that soldiers can take to alter their unit type. What starts as a band of undifferentiated peasants soon becomes a disciplined, combined arms force under your careful guidance and tutelage. It's a great addition to the emergent narrative of the game, and while Warband lacks the individualization of something like XCOM, you do get strongly attached to your group as an almost personal entity, and you will feel it when you take serious losses. I really enjoy Mount and Blade Warband. It combines a player-driven experience with meaningful and well-implemented combat mechanics, a fun and varied leveling system, various styles of play, endless opportunities for emergent narrative, and all packed into a sandbox that the player can interact with in ways only touched on in this review. Unfortunately, this does come at a price. While the game runs very well, there's no escaping that the low visual quality will make it unappealing to some, and much of the UI is, to be polite, complete jank. It runs fine as a program, it's just that the skin over that program was not well designed. However, these issues don't make the game any more awkward to play, they just annoy and irritate from time to time. It's hard to describe exactly what's wrong with janky controls or a janky UI, but I think the problem is that they're just quite primitive, even for the game's time. People who grew up playing PC games in the 90s, especially RPGs, will probably know what I mean. The UIs on those games work fine, but these days they're showing their age a little bit as ideas have changed and moved on. However, despite these problems, Warband remains a very entertaining title that will provide hours of entertainment and considerable replayability. It certainly comes with my recommendation. Mount and Blade Warband is published by Paradox Interactive and developed by Tailworlds Entertainment. It can be purchased on Steam for $14.99 or whatever that is in your money. It's a standalone expansion and does not require the original Mount and Blade to play. For now, I'm Evis, signing off.